Oh, Mr. Chair, what time do you have? My computer says 11:57.
12:01.
12:01, okay.
Okay.
Computer.
So good afternoon, officially good afternoon. It is 12:01 and welcome to the Human Rights Commission Executive Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, March the 5th, 2024. And we will start with calling the meeting to order. Can we please do roll call? Commissioner Greer,
Here?
Vice Chair Vignolo,
I am here.
Chair Loyola.
present. Yay. Okay, so we have quorum. Item number 3 in the agenda today is acceptance of the agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as it stands?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay, so any discussions? All right, so raise your hand. Let's accept it. Yes. Item number 4 is public comments. Jay, did we have any submission for comments today?
We have no request for public comments.
So non-present. Thank you for that. Item number 5 is chair comments. I have none. We're gonna move on with the next item in the agenda, which is the discussion of the agenda items for future Human Rights Commission meetings. And that will be starting with our meeting that will take place next Monday on March the 11th, 2024. What items would you like to see included in that agenda? I have a few, but I would love to hear your thoughts.
I will defer to you.
So one of the first items I looked to get included in the agenda was a discussion in the agreement of the commission getting together for Harvey Milk Breakfast, the diversity breakfast event, which is a very important one. And we never really decided if we would take it like a table, and get the use of the stipend for the commission to pay for the tickets. But that's something that I would love, put out there on the table and see how many commissioners would like to join us.
When is that?
It's in May.
It's in May, May?
It's like really around the corner.
Yeah.
So that is one of the items that I have. The other item is also the participation on the 1PS community neighborhoods event. Last year it was Vice Chair Vignolo and myself, and hopefully this year we'll have other commissioners joining. It's a really fun event as a community. And the final was really to have a conversation with commissioners about, and I know it comes further in the agenda, which is the community server awards and reviewing how do we receive applications, how do we vet nominees, and how do we go about deciding on those nominees. And I know this item is coming up, but those are the 3 items that I specifically had.
Was there not one of the commissioners wanted to do a presentation on social justice, I think, that we deferred? Is that still on the board somewhere?
I believe Commissioner Rimas
Yeah, I
wanted.
mean,
Did he just decide not to do it, or he hasn't brought it up again?
Mm-mm,
Okay.
I haven't heard anything, but that would be something we can ask when we.
Yeah, no, I
I
was
mean,
just curious. I mean, he wanted to do that, and, we got involved in the awards and we didn't get back to it.
Mhm. So do either of you have other items that you'd like to see included in the agenda for Monday?
well, I think I sent Jay the list. I'm trying to pull it up in Outlook and it's not working, but I mean, some of them you put on here, so I agree with you
Mhm.
that I think on the full commission's agenda for our next regular meeting, we should have a conversation with all the commissioners about lessons learned from the 2024 Community Service Awards. And how do we want to improve the process going
Mhm.
forward
Mhm.
for 2025.
Mhm.
I think, and this may be a request of our staff liaison, but at the next regular meeting of the full commission, get an update on the executive committee meeting with the city manager, because that was,
Mhm.
I thought, scheduled,
Mhm.
canceled, postponed. But I think it would be prudent for us to
Mhm.
have a meeting with the city manager or deputy city manager if the city manager is not available.
I have some dates and times.
No,
If
perfect.
we want to review that.
Yes.
When I do my section on comments, we can do that.
Oh,
So
okay.
would that need to be part of the next agenda or maybe a report out?
Maybe just, I don't know, a report out.
Maybe just a report out.
I didn't bring it. Are you on the agenda for every regular meeting to report out? Or is it just a request?
There's a director comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The student representative program, I think we need to put that on the agenda, so,
Mhm.
you know. I don't know, I mean, Lily leaves in May.
Was there a? did the
Other person never
She never
responded.
responded.
She never responded, no.
I asked Lily to contact her
Mhm.
to see if she was still interested, although it would only be till
Good
May.
name.
She's also graduating. So I think maybe this is a good time for the commission as a body to look at the student representative program, and I know we talked about making some or changes to it, but I don't know.
I don't know, are we even, do we even have a recruiting process in that?
I don't-
Or is
So
it
there's an
just-
application
no.
on, the website and students can apply
Yeah,
to
but
join. But the
they-
question is how to, exactly,
Yeah, okay.
how do we
So
advertise
they don't
that?
have a recruitment process, okay.
We,
And I think the application had some errors in it. It was supposed to be updated
Oh, okay.
to clarify that you don't have to be
Living in the city.
living in the city. So there were some inconsistencies that were supposed to be addressed. I don't know if those were yet, but maybe that can be.
I
addressed
believe
as part of
those
the
have all
report out.
been addressed and corrected. So, to be consistent with the city's rules.
Mhm.
And I believe you also had pondered whether college students should be eligible
Mhm.
for the student representative.
mhm.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing to talk about, CRD should probably be included.
Mhm. Those are all good.
Um,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't know if. Yeah, well, I don't know if as part of the directors or the staff liaisons report out at the next regular meeting. And Jeff may want to weigh in on this. Do we want to even mention or about the public records requests? And where those stand and have they been complied with to the full extent that they're supposed to be complied with? I don't know how that's handled by other boards, committees and commissions.
I presume that you all comply with those requests, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, the first one, the second one, I didn't have anything
The second one,
additional.
we had already determined that all of.
But you
the
responded
communication should be
regardless.
I think
on the
so.
Palm Springs site, so
It
there
was
wasn't. any-
important to respond, even if you didn't have anything else to
Yeah.
provide.
Yeah, because of the date, that was the date going forward, that we had
Okay.
said everything would be in Palm Springs, so it all
Well,
was.
does the deputy city clerk not follow up if, is Brent a male or female? It's the male, right?
Brenda is female.
Brent.
Oh, Brent.
Brenda's female.
Brent is female or Brent? Wait a minute.
Yeah, there's two. There's a Brent and a Brenda.
Brenda.
Yeah, Brent
Brent.
is male.
Right.
Brenda,
So-
we were investigating.
I have never met Brent Razzie, the deputy city clerk.
Mhm.
But I'm a little unclear as to the whole public records request process. After we get told to provide everything in response to it,
Mhm.
how does the deputy city clerk know that he or she has in fact received everything?
I don't know.
And then what happens after that?
So we're getting a little bit off topic, but I'll answer the question, but we probably want to get back onto the topic of, what future agenda items. I mean, the truth is, the city clerk relies on the honesty of public officials like yourselves to turn over all of your documents. If public officials don't, then I've seen situations where, the requesting party goes to court and asks the court to issue a subpoena. So that's kind of how that works.
Mhm.
That's good to know. So is this something we would want to add to our agenda just to get an update or to let the other commissioners know that there's been multiple public records requests?
I guess the question is, we don't,
That's on topic,
when we get these requests, the entire commission receives them, right?
do they?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Or it's just a,
And I think in this case, Jeff, do you know that?
I mean, it depends on what the nature of the request is. If the request is from all emails from all commissioners, then yeah, all the commissioners will get the email from the city clerk's office. If it's a narrow request of only, 3 or 4 commissioners, then usually only those 3 or 4 commissioners will get it. So.
Is there a follow-up that needs to be?
I don't know, we don't know. We cannot tell from the email from the deputy city clerk to whom that public records request has gone. I think it only went to the 3 of us,
Yeah.
I think. Again, I don't know,
no idea.
but I don't know if it's. I guess I'm being overly sensitive. I don't know whether we want to bring this up to the full commission, at least make them aware that there have been multiple public records requests. That is why I'm bringing it up to the executive committee to decide if we want to put this on the agenda.
I think,
Your thoughts?
well, my thought is, what is the outcome, right? What is it that we should expect to get out of this? And I think, in my opinion, is to make sure that the commissioners know that if a request for documents comes and they're included in that request, that they need to comply. And that's
Yeah,
is the role of a commissioner.
yeah, I concur with that.
I agree
Yeah,
with
but
that, I
also, I wonder if we're not going to follow up on it, if we're not gonna say,
I don't understand if
what
there's any-
happens now, I can't, and maybe it's really not that good an idea to open the door if we don't have anything to say.
Well, that's the point, because if
And
you're
you
gonna
would
just,
say something about it.
if you're just gonna bring it to the commission to say,
Yeah.
we've been, we were asked to provide documents in relation to this situation, fine. What do we want them to do with this information?
Yeah.
What is the outcome? And, again, my opinion is that if we just wanna say, if you ever get requests for documents, please comply. It's
But
the job of the commission.
But I think I think the full commission deserves to know that the Human Rights Commission is under the microscope. As demonstrated by the multiple public records requests.
Okay.
So how many do we have now? 8 commissioners?
Yeah.
We have
maybe.
1 vacancy. Should know that we need to be vigilant going forward.
Mhm.
Cause I think people are gonna be looking at the full commission more carefully. That's why I'm bringing.
The other thing that we received, and again, I don't know who gets these requests, right? But the other thing we received, and I believe we received it twice, was a copy of the Brown Act.
Uh-huh.
And so is that a more fruitful conversation with the commission to make sure that everyone goes through that document and understand how Brown Act works?
Did we have a Brown Act? Someone or didn't we have we haven't had that here. Maybe I've just had it with somebody else, and I keep thinking, we haven't had that yet.
They occur periodically, and
Yeah,
I just
okay.
don't know if, when they happened, the current sitting commissioners were participating in that.
Perhaps not.
And I don't know if it was the case with you guys, but when I took my oath and I became a commissioner, I had to go through that training in person with the city clerk.
Hmm. I have to confess, I don't remember, but I have been on a number of public boards and I've gone through, it seems like I've gone through the Brown seminars about every year, for years.
So maybe that's the way to frame this, like we've received a request for the information, and this is connected to Brown Act and the transparency, and just make sure that everyone understands that there's such a document that they need to review regularly.
Yeah,
Sure. Right?
So put it on the agenda as what? What's the agenda item? Review of Brown Act? Again,
again,
or
I guess we-
reminder to the commissioners?
Just as a reminder, maybe just as a reminder of the importance of for people to read that document and to understand the role of a commissioner.
maybe we just put that in the chair comments and maybe not make it, and
Okay,
That's
maybe not an
fine.
agenda item.
I'm fine with that. To be part of general comments. Do we have any other items for the agenda for Monday?
It was my understanding that we were going to try to get a meeting with the city manager prior to our discussion of the strategic vision. Is that gonna bullet things up?
And
No, it's only this week, I don't imagine, because we were supposed to meet with him a long time ago.
But Jake, didn't you just say that you have some potential dates?
I have some potential dates, which we can discuss later in the agenda.
Okay.
Because, and I think David, you had looked at what we operate under, and a lot of it being out of date. Because
Sorry,
it was
say
so
that.
focused on, you had suggested that we all look at the code that we operate under, and that was to be discussed with the city manager. Because it is kind of out of date, it's all on,
Oh.
it's all about,
right, if we meet with the city manager or deputy city manager, I would, again, if the commission concurs, I think it's well within the commission's jurisdiction to submit proposed changes to the Palm Springs Municipal Code section that specifically talks about the Human Rights Commission, which was written over, I think, 25 years ago. And I did mention it informally to Mayor Bernstein, and he agreed. There's stuff in there that doesn't even
Yeah.
exist,
Mhm.
and it certainly, I think other commission boards and committees have done that, at
Mhm.
least one that I know of. Now whether the council takes it up and amends the municipal code to make it current and reflect what we actually would like, what we actually do or would like to do as a commission,
Mhm.
that's up to them, but at least we can do the homework and put together a proposal for them to consider. So I think
Mhm.
I think we can start the process with the commissioners to get them to start thinking about it. And
Yeah.
maybe, my suggestion would be to have an ad hoc committee of 2, maybe 3, maybe 2. 2 seems to be, well, we only have 8
Yeah, we don't have
Commissioners.
people.
this point, but maybe 2 commissioners sit down and, like we did with the standard operating procedures document,
Mhm,
and work out, take a look at what the code is and come up with some ideas for changes.
So that was gonna be my next question,
Yeah.
is like, what is the outcome, the expected
Well,
outcome?
yeah, well, the
Would be
code- the
to
code
look at the
focuses-
code and then to see if we can interpret that code and then make a written recommendation
Yeah.
for
Yeah, the
adoption.
code focuses very heavily on domestic partnerships, which of course are
Yeah.
not even an issue anymore since gay marriage became law.
Mhm.
So right away, we know we're out of date. But I think also we were discussing that perhaps some direction coming from the city manager,
Mhm.
and from the mayor's office as well might help
Just needs to be updated.
inform that process.
Okay. So is that gonna be included in the agenda or is that part of general?
Well, I think we could put it on the agenda to kind of start, again, having the
Maybe
conversation
that's
with
the
the full
discussion,
commissioners.
strategic vision, or maybe
And
that's. where
see
we
if there's
start that
any interest
conversation.
in
Yeah.
two members working together, you know, to take a look at it
Yeah,
Okay,
and give us some thoughts about how it can be changed. With the caveat that, you know, we'll bring back to the full commission any thoughts that we get from the city manager when we meet with
okay,
them. And then they can go do the work and report back to the full commission, say in 2 or 3 months.
yeah.
And we
I
can then
think it's
go
gonna
from there.
be, I think it's gonna be important to provide a brief context as to the code and
Mhm.
why we feel that this is important. And so maybe if you feel that you wanna provide just a couple of minutes of, you know, this is the code as it stands, and we would like to make a recommendation to bring it like up to a present. I think that that is going to
But I
really
think
help
that-
us
yeah.
get everyone to think about it.
can that not be under the strategic vision umbrella?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think, I mean, I think that's what we can discuss, so it has some specific items in there.
Okay.
I kind of like to, you know, the reason I'd like it to be on the agenda is I really want to try to get the other commissioners engaged. And they need to start thinking, well, what do they want this commission to focus on
Mhm.
going forward? Or do they, other than the three of us, do the other 5 members
Yeah.
just wanna come every month and
Just be part of the meeting.
just?
Well, maybe what we need to do is expand that topic from just general strategic vision, say,
Right.
and review of code or
Review of-
something, a review of the code or some review of municipal code or something that's more specific rather than just kind of strategic vision
Mhm.
in the agenda.
We can
item,
certainly
which would
review the
help
code, we
focus.
can walk through the code, it's not,
Yeah.
a-
It's not long.
it's not
No.
long, but, you know, and anybody can, maybe that's what we should,
Maybe that's where we should
maybe the
start.
first thing we should do is, Jay. Bring copies of the chapter of the code that apply, that pertains to the Human Rights Commission.
Can we share that in advance so
And
that people can read
Give
it?
them a hard copy at the meeting.
Yeah,
because
that's not a problem.
Yeah, it's only. a
Some
few
people
paragraphs, it's not huge.
Difficulty finding it.
Yeah.
And we know people don't read, but it wouldn't hurt to send that in advance.
Or we could. Some of that is bullet points, but really, make it easy for people.
So connected with that, and when we get to talk about more specifically about what we would like to get out of our conversation with city manager or deputy city manager.
Mhm.
I think one of the questions that I wanted to put out there is, what is the expectation of the city manager and also of council with regard to this particular commission? And, you know, what do they expect us to produce if there's any such as expectation?
Mhm.
Because if you all remember, we worked on the premise that we would be following the strategic plan that the city council put forward for the next few years.
Mhm.
And we sort of teased out some of the areas that we felt that the commission could do some work with relation to things like homelessness. And
Mhm.
so that started the conversation. But we haven't really formally received anything from the city council
Mhm.
or the office of the city manager with regard to what is the expectation of the work of this commission. And if we could walk away with 2 or 3 strategic things to do, then everything starts to really make more sense. And that's when I feel that more commissioners will raise their hands and say, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Commissioners, are we getting off topic
Yeah.
from the agenda items?
So, yeah,
So should we move on to the next?
let's move on to the next.
Okay.
Well, that's it. And the only other agenda item I think is, and maybe this again is a reporting out of. How, do we have any applications for our vacancy? Do we, go out and actively recruit, or how do we fill that?
Yeah, it's
vacancy?
difficult for me to answer. The city clerk, I believe, has a pool of applications they've received. They may go to the next one. I think they're constantly receiving the applications. And I think also, as you've seen, the replacements happen much quicker than they have in the past, so, I'll try to get an update from the city clerk on what we would, do for filling vacancies.
Mhm. Okay.
Is there
Great.
anything we can do as commissioners to, I guess we can just recruit individually and then tell people about the process of applying? Right?
As long as you're not talking to each other about it.
No, but that's why you put it on the agenda at the full commission, right? That's what I'm getting at.
I see.
If we put this item on our agenda, then we have an opportunity in public forum to remind all commissioners, we have a vacancy. And if you know anyone who's interested, here's the process. And follow the process and hopefully we can fill the vacancy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we may never have more than 8 commissioners.
Okay. All right. So let's move along with this agenda. The executive committee future meeting dates and our schedule. Our goal initially, if I recall this correctly, was to meet at least 2 weeks prior to the standard meetings, so that the 3 of us can talk about items for the agenda, agreed on those, put them forward so that our staff liaison can create the agenda and share it with the rest of the commission. Are we gonna try to stay on that schedule? 2 weeks prior to the standard meetings?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now that we have to meet
Here,
here
Yeah.
in person in a public setting and we can't do it via Zoom, it's
It's one-
logistically more
one limited.
challenging for us 3.
Mhm.
I don't know if Jay can answer this or how do other boards, commissions and committees establish their agenda for their regular meetings? Do they do it at the conclusion of each regular meeting or do they do it prior to, like 2 weeks prior to? I mean, that's.
It's similar to this, they ask for future agenda items, but I think what's unique that you may want to consider changing or investigating is that the Human Rights Commission has a standing executive committee. And as a standing executive committee, we're subject to the Brown Act, whereas other commissions that I know of do not have a standing executive committee.
That's correct. And some commissions have, just by their nature, items that come before them on a regular basis. So planning commission, has planning applications that are regularly coming forward by applicants or sometimes initiated by the city. The Administrative Appeals Board, though, that naturally has appeals that are filed by people who get cited. Even those boards that have their own kind of source of agenda items, they will usually have a section at the end where they talk about future agenda items, where the legislative body requests for items to come forward. I'm trying to think how other commissions, like the Airport Commission and Measure J, I don't attend those commission meetings, so I don't know off the top of my head. I will say most legislative bodies, city councils, planning commissions, they do it as part of the commissioner comments at the end of their regular meeting.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Makes sense to me. Maybe given
Mhm.
our constraints, maybe we do need to
So revisit this, yeah.
Mhm.
take out or revise our standard operating procedures and eliminate the executive committee, but make it clear that agenda items will have to be identified
At
at
the
each
end,
regular meeting at the end of it.
so that we make a point of having a good discussion at the end on comments to identify and agree on the items to be included in the next agenda.
Mhm.
And then if you have something come up in that interim period, you'll simply have to wait till the next regular meeting,
Mhm.
to request it be put on the next regular meeting, because it has to be agendized before you can.
It
Discuss
strikes me-
it, so.
It strikes me that under the Brown Act, if you're not a standing committee, you can, however, call an ad hoc committee at any point without having to be subject to all of these restrictions.
Say that
So
again?
You can call an ad hoc meeting at any time, you don't need that are not subject, is my understanding. It's a standing committee where we run into this issue.
Well, Jeff can weigh in
Yeah,
on
go,
it. There are
Jeff, tell me.
specific,
The,
Right.
I would hesitate to use the word ad hoc meeting. Ad hoc refers to the committee. A committee is either ad hoc or a standing committee. And what we've established is a standing committee, the executive committee. Those meetings need to be agendized.
Yeah.
So there really isn't such thing as an ad hoc meeting.
Committee, I meant, Jeff, I'm sorry.
There can be a special meeting by either a standing committee or a ad hoc meeting. I'll also say, usually with, for instance, the city council and I guess probably the planning commission, usually staff will work closely with the chair or the mayor in the case of the council. If something comes up in between agendas, to decide whether or not something should go on the agenda or whether it should wait.
Yeah, and so that would be going back to Hugo, and then he could determine what.
so
needs to
anything
be
that's,
done, and ask for
Can't wait.
whatever he wanted to. Yeah, I know we ran into this at the Office on Aging when the Brown Act became more restrictive, because all of our working committees were standing committees, and then we all had to go through all this process and went, no, that's not gonna work for anybody. Yeah, so we had to revise everything, so nothing was a standing committee anymore.
Right. So then we are in agreement that we were gonna try to walk at the end of every standard meeting with some agenda items identified to be included in the next agenda.
Yeah, and that said, then we probably have to dissolve this as a standing committee.
Yeah.
right, so can we put on the agenda for the
Yeah,
next
to do
regular
that.
meeting? Proposed revision to our standard operating procedures I'll take the document and
Mhm.
strike out the language, any references to executive committee. And put that forward
No,
for discussion.
we just dissolve the executive committee as a standing committee, you don't need to dissolve any references. I mean, it's just.
Why would we
just have to put it
reference
into
the
that?
executive
Okay,
committee?
you know, I see what you're
if
saying.
we're
I'm sorry.
dissolving?
Yeah, the language is in that document, not in the updated
But
document.
we can,
You're right.
if
Yeah,
it's
'cause
on
we're
the
not
agenda,
updating it anyway, so let's-
we'll
yeah,
discuss it.
Yeah.
And then if
understand.
any commissioners disagree by vote, then I guess we'll
Okay,
have to
So we
figure
have to do
something out.
it. Got a plan too.
That gets us off the hook for meeting. in
I'm
person.
all
Well,
for it.
these, these are very, Brown Act stuff is very restricted because of the having to post the agendas and stuff.
Okay. So shall we move on to the next? Which is the lessons learned from the 2024 Community Service Award. Just open it to you guys to get a start. Anything you wanna bring?
It seems that the process needs to be reviewed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
my biggest lesson learned.
Yeah, that's the
why
lesson is, that didn't work.
I would like on the next agenda to have an item that talks about establishing. Again, maybe one or two commissioners, an ad hoc committee of the Human Rights Commission to look at. Changing how we
Process.
solicit, select, and give out community service awards going forward
Mhm.
Mhm.
for the 2025 or 2024-2025. But I would like in establishing this ad hoc committee to look at the process for community service awards to be very, give it a specific deadline. We have to have something in place by October 1
Mhm.
of next year.
Yes, because
or
the
soon.
call for applications goes out in November.
In November?
So we need to nail this, have it really solidified by October. And yes, I am in complete agreement.
Mhm.
that's.
So we had actually discussed that at our last meeting, we didn't.
Kinda
do a
brought it
motion,
up.
or
We
We
did
didn't,
bring it
ask anybody that wanted to participate.
Mhm.
I think we need to walk away from the next meeting with the committee in place,
Mhm.
get them working on
Okay. Yeah, I'm all in favor of that for sure.
No, I
Okay.
did, just as an FYI, I've already. And again, part of me thought that our staff liaison might take the lead on this, but then I thought. I'm not really clear what the limitations of the staff liaison are, so I don't wanna just give them more work. So therefore, I have an ad hoc committee of commissioners, two commissioners do it. But I took the initiative of just doing a broad search of other cities
it.
in the United States that have community service award programs. How do they do it? And I've identified at least 5 from mostly the Midwest and East
Hmm.
that have processes that are a little bit more robust than the one we are using. So whether I'm on this ad hoc committee or not, I'd be happy to share
Yeah.
that with the commissioners that want to look at
Bring that.
completing the process. But
That's
there are
excellent.
models out there that I think it behooves us to look at
Well, certainly we can look
going
at that.
forward.
Excellent starting point.
It's great, yeah, to get us started. Excellent. So the next item on the agenda is the update on the executive committee meeting with the city manager. And so what are the dates? What are they proposing?
Okay, so. The dates I've received from the city manager's office are March 19th. And I have some times, March 20th and March 25th. So on March, excuse me, 19th. At 9 AM, 10 AM, 1:30 PM and 2 PM.
So we're looking at 30-minute meeting?
It appears that way.
Okay.
Is it just with the city manager and you?
I have conflicts on some of those dates, so it may be just the city manager.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that okay?
So that's the 19th.
We'll see. We'll get some dates together and see what works.
What's on the 20th?
The 20th is 9 AM, 10 AM, 11 AM and 1 PM.
And then the 25th or
25th is 2 PM, 3 PM and 4 PM.
Was there any,
let me check real quick with my work.
I'm out of town on the 25th, but
Okay.
Okay, so that
if
doesn't
we
work.
could meet on the 19th or 20th, I could do any of the times.
Hold on a second. Let me check my work calendar, my work schedule.
Mm.
Are you not available, Jay, on the 19th at all?
The 19th, I have a conflict with the 9 AM and 10 AM times.
What was the next one?
The 20th, so the
1:30.
20th, which it seems like the most flexible for all, at 9 o'clock
Good for you.
or 10 o'clock would work for me at this point, and I can block my work.
Works for me.
Okay, that works for me.
I am not available on the 20th at 9 or 10.
Mhm.
So going back on the 19th, you said nothing on the 19th for you, Jay?
For the 19th for me, I am not available at 9 AM or 10 AM,
What's
You're
the
available at
next one?
1:30 or 2?
1:30 and 2.
No, I could do either of those.
I
Can
can do
you,
that thing.
you go?
No, I already have, well, I would have to cancel some client meetings, which I could. I prefer not to. And on the 20th, Jay, 11 o'clock,
Let me drill down on these.
Are we asking the commission to disband the executive committee or just limit its role in terms of identifying future agenda items?
I thought we were gonna
We're
just
Disband.
disband it,
Disbanded, yeah.
around it.
unless there's a reason to have it, if we, because every time we would have to come together in a formal public meeting.
Mm.
So would this meeting with the city manager occur before that disbanding, or,
But no, it would be after.
so there won't be, I mean, if. the
There will be
commission-
Good point.
executive
I see where you're
committee.
going, good point.
But Jeff, I think it still merits for us to meet with the manager, because
Yeah.
I'd love to ask that question, like, what is the city expecting and what is the?
Yeah,
We could-
yeah,
We could postpone the revision to the standard operating procedure document to disband the executive committee until, you know, April or May.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of put that out
No,
there.
I see your point.
Mhm.
No, it is clear, yeah, we totally get it.
We just won't have any more executive committee public meetings, but we'd like to meet with the city manager sooner rather than later, and then,
We don't need to meet
So-
as an executive committee, we can meet as members of the, select members of the HR, and everything like, you know.
so can I just ask a hypothetical of Jeff then, because if if eventually we disband the executive committee, is there a vehicle for the commission, any board committee or commission to meet with a member of the city council? Is it just one-on-one, or can two commissioners meet with one city council member?
So assuming the executive committee is disbanded, then yeah, one or up to, but not including a majority, could meet with a council member or two council members. So if we're an eight-person commission, then three of you could meet with a council member and talk about your individual thoughts.
Oh, okay, and that does not have to have an agenda or a public announcement or a notice or anything like that. It's just three commissioners meeting with a city council member.
If they're just three random commissioners, if they haven't been set up by the commission as a body to represent the commission or perform a ongoing regular mission, then they're just three random commissioners, and they can talk to anybody. The reason why the executive committee is considered a standing committee under the Brown Act is because it was created by the commission by way of the standard operating procedures,
Right,
and it has a regular ongoing function. In other words, it has continuing jurisdiction, as opposed to, say, the commission created a committee to focus on the human rights awards and come up with a better process. That would be kind of a limited function. That would be an ad hoc committee. It disbands after it's made its report to the commission. That ad hoc committee does not need to comply with the Brown Act.
got it.
Right.
Okay, and if, just one final question, Jeff, so I'm clear.
Oh, no, I'm here for more.
If I want to meet with Mayor Bernstein and I wanted Hugo and Beverly to be meeting with me, would I speak to Beverly first individually or speak to the chair first individually by email? Once I get his concurrence, I would then speak individually or via email with Beverly, because we can't do it, all three of us, on a single email, because that would be a violation of the Brown Act. Is that right?
You raise an interesting point, a very nuanced point of the Brown Act. So let's assume the executive committee is still in effect. You know, it hasn't been disbanded or anything by the commission. Even though the Brown Act doesn't say this, most municipal attorneys agree that a majority of a legislative body, in this case, it would be the executive committee, they can talk to each other about what to put on a future agenda or whether to have a meeting, you know, maybe call a special meeting. And this is just it's a necessary implication of the fact that somebody has to come up with an agenda, somebody has to decide what's going to be on the agenda. So we encourage legislative body members not to talk to a majority of that legislative body. But if you're talking solely about whether to call a meeting and or what agenda items should be on the meeting, you can talk to a majority of that legislative body. As long as you don't start getting into the merits, the substantive merits of that particular agenda item, which is kind of hard to do, but you need to do that. You can talk about, hey, can we, I'd like to call a special meeting of the executive committee to talk to the city manager. You can talk to Beverly about it. You can talk to Chair Loyola. You go, yeah, you can talk about that limited issue about whether to have a meeting and what agenda item.
But no content.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No substantive content.
You can't start talking about, we need to have this meeting because I think the city manager is doing a horrible job and he needs to be fired and we need to here's why, blah, 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 those
Can
types.
can it be a single email to both Beverly and Hugo?
It could, and it could even be a discussion. It could be a back and forth. No, I don't, I'm not available that date, or no, the city manager is available that date.
No substance, just kind of like the logistics.
Yeah,
Correct.
got it.
Alright.
Got it. With that said, and going back to the 20th,
Yeah.
and with Jay's schedule, we were looking at 11 or 1 PM.
Correct.
So does that work for you?
It works for me,
11 or 1?
correct.
So I'm looking at my work calendar and I can do either or, 11 or 1.
I'm sorry, what date again?
It's the 20th.
March,
It's a
Wednesday, March
Wednesday, the
20th.
20th.
I can do
either.
one.
You can do one.
1?
Hugo can do one.
1 works for me
Okay.
also.
Jay can do one.
I'm good.
Great.
Beverly
So,
can do
Yeah, I can do one.
just to clarify, Jeff, this would have to be an agendized meeting, correct?
with the mayor, I mean, with
With
the
the city.
manager.
Well, if it's of the 2 or 3 members of what's currently the executive committee, yes. While the executive committee is an established standing committee of the commission, then yes, a majority of you in, one place talking about something that's within your subject matter jurisdiction has to be agendized.
Okay.
Alright, so, and it would have to be public,
Public,
The meeting would be open to the public, yes.
so do we have to get the concurrence of the city manager first? Or do we just say, Jay, put together a notice to the public with an agenda that has a single item on it? The executive committee of the Human Rights Commission will be meeting to discuss the strategic vision of the commission on Wednesday, March 20th at this time. At
that's,
this location.
I'm gonna say yes, we have to do all that. The location, I think, is a question mark because as you're talking about it, I don't know if this room is available. I don't know what
We'll
room
meet
might
in
be
the parking
available, but
lot.
I'm sure we could find
I
something
mean,
to make that meeting
isn't
happen.
it simpler if we have the executive committee stand down, it's no longer standing committee, and just the 3 of us meet with the city
Well,
manager,
we can't disband this executive committee until the commission votes to disband it,
which is
which
prior
would
to
be
this.
after,
No, it's gonna be 11th, right?
March
it
11th.
March
could
11th.
be the 11th,
We're gonna do it in the next meeting.
and then the 3 of us
And then the
just meet.
3 of us meet as members of the commission. It would be-
I guess that would work if we're looking at March 20th.
Well, and this is to make it more convenient to do a meeting. I think you'd want to think through just a little more about, the decision to eliminate committee. There may be discussion. Some members may say, I never had a chance to be an executive committee
Sure.
member.
Good point.
So,
Well, it is that, yeah, if they don't.
It's more work for
do
you,
that,
but I would just,
Yeah,
let's
well, okay,
Let's have the executive committee meet with the city manager on March 20th at a public meeting, with
Public
the
meeting.
appropriate notice.
yeah, we can
Uh,
plan for that.
A
as an
time
executive
and
committee.
location to be
Okay.
determined, but it'll only have a single agenda item. on it.
1.
Well,
And that's a
that's
strategic vision.
Unless you have to have public comments as a part of the agenda, which
Mhm.
I believe we do.
Jay can work out.
Yep, every agenda has to have an opportunity for the public to comment.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the probably has to have call to order, roll call, acceptance, public
thing.
comments.
Mhm.
Discussion with city manager for about strategic vision and plans for the Human Rights Commission. And then adjourn.
Mhm.
Sounds like the way to go. with
Hopefully
that
nobody will
particular-
show up, except the three of us.
Or if they do, they
Jay
bring
and
something
city
substantive to the
manager.
conversation.
Well, the agenda is gonna be posted for the
Yeah.
public to view, so they all understand what we're trying to discuss.
If somebody
And
has
people
some-
can say, I wanna be part of that, or I wanna,
Absolutely,
I have some questions, and that's perfectly fine.
it would be welcome.
So we agree then on the 20th at 1 P.M.?
Yes,
Okay, great.
Location to be determined, you'll let us
Location.
know,
Pencil it
or
right
you'll
now.
send the notice out.
right.
The next item on the agenda is invitation to Mayor
Yeah.
Bernstein to attend regular meetings. The meeting on Monday. David,
Do we want to?
Do you want to? Is it worth his time?
let me
I
preface.
think he had asked, he had indicated his willingness to come.
At every conversation that I have with city council members, I've asked them to please consider joining our meetings,
Uh-huh.
and it's been an open invitation. I
Right.
don't know that, so what we suggesting, we want to formally send the
Well, I
mayor
think, yeah,
an
I'll
invitation.
tell you the genesis, I think I put this on the email I sent to Jay, is because in a private conversation with Mayor Bernstein, I
Mhm.
said, part of my
By the way, this meeting is being recorded and possibly broadcast, so I just wanna remind everybody that.
Yes,
All right, well, part of my concern was. And I think other commissioners feel this, we struggle with not knowing. What does the city council want us to do? What should we be focused on? And I think I heard or I recall in the past, there were council liaisons. Council members were designated as specific liaison to boards, committees and commissions. And for whatever reason, that disappeared. Probably because they were too busy doing
Yeah.
other important work. So I got the sense that at least Mayor Bernstein might be willing to, on occasion, if invited, come to our commission meeting.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, what a great idea. And so why not invite Mayor Bernstein to come to our March 11th meeting? That's all.
Hmm.
So
With that-
if the
with that
executive
background-
committee wants to extend that invitation through our staff liaison to Mayor Bernstein, if he's still available on March 11th, I think it would be a welcome opportunity to have a council member present.
With that background, David, I wonder if that would not be an item that we would wanna talk in terms of a strategic vision with the city manager, having a liaison and then proffering an invitation rather than proffering an invitation sort of with nothing other than just comment.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
Well, what I heard you say, and I assume what you meant was that, that you felt in the past there was a designated person or at least a council member that was a liaison for each of the committees and should be for our committee, we were assuming that it should be. Would that then be something that we should talk about from a strategic point of view, and a vision with the city manager to say, is that something that has been in the past, is that something that we should approach with the city council? And then have it be formal,
But this
so that actually happens, rather than
it's
just.
really up
actually
to
go
the
the
city
mayor.
council to decide, does it
Absolutely,
want
but
to?
they wouldn't, if it weren't suggested to them, I don't think it would come about. I mean, is that something that is something that we should, that we want to do, that we want to suggest, that we want part of our vision or as part of the city's vision of the Human Rights Commission to be able to liaise with with council members that, you know, were working directly with us, which would be great, I think, but, you know,
That's a conversation we better had with a city council member rather than the city manager.
you think? Yeah, I would. Yeah, I
Because the
would
city, if I
either.
understand, the city manager would pretty much, if directed, implement anything the city council suggested to do. So I think our first
So that would be go to city council
approach would
first.
be to try to encourage as many
So-
city council members to perhaps reconsider.
I think you
So I-
gotta be careful there,
We gotta-
Commissioner Vignolo.
But what? I'm tired of being careful.
No,
Sometimes I don't understand what
I'm,
the,
I'm sorry,
issue
when you're
is.
saying influence as many city council members as possible, that, I would.
I meant-
with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
you can't ask for something, you can't express a concern if you can't have a conversation with council members, right?
Can I ask a question? Is this something that we could just request a meeting with the mayor and talk to the mayor about it? And just maybe a few of us?
You're saying a few of you, not the full
Not the full,
Human Rights Commission.
because it's a very specific question,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a request that a
Yeah.
council member becomes a little more involved with the work of the commission in a way that attending meetings,
Mhm.
listening to what's being discussed.
It's been that way in the past, so, it's, you know, it is the direction for me from the city manager as to, working with commissions. In the past,
Mhm.
I think council representatives for commissions were actually kind of pulled back. So
Mm,
currently, I don't know what the city manager would like to see.
Yeah,
okay.
which is why I agree with
Mm.
Beverly's recommendation that we just focus on having our conversation with city manager on the 20th first. And notwithstanding, this is an election year and we're gonna potentially have new
There's
council
that too,
members.
you know.
Right, and I don't want to, leave, Vice Chair Vignolo thinking he can't speak with, council members. My concern was kind of lobbying council members
Yeah.
individually
No.
and creating a serial meeting with the city council, so,
A serial meeting?
serial meeting.
I don't even know what that
That
is.
looks
so-
like
When you
linking.
discuss the same topic with a different member of legislative body,
Mhm.
so,
Oh, no,
It's-
that wasn't my intent.
okay.
I was simply looking for a mechanism to express interest to some city council member that
Mhm.
we, as a commission, have, at least in my 2 years on this commission, struggled with what does the council want us to do? Because we're just not getting that kind of feedback. So perhaps if we could have it on a maybe quarterly basis, a council member drop in,
Mhm.
if they're willing to. And to just hear our concerns and
Right.
have a conversation with them, what a great idea.
So
That's-
you may not recall, you may not have been part of the commission, but there was a time when each commission put together a matrix of what they were what their priorities would be for the coming year, I would think, or a couple of years. And so that matrix went to part of the city's strategic visioning. And so that effort had happened, but not just for one commission, it was for all the commissions. So, you know, it's possibly a new conversation, maybe find out if the city manager is planning on doing something similar
Mhm.
anytime in the near future. And, then working with the desires of the council through the city manager to facilitate something like that. But, you know, to your point, you know, wanting feedback and, direction is understandable. So, I guess the commission could draft a letter and send that to the council and say, you know, we'd like to meet with some of you, and it'll go to the whole council.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah.
Whatever. I only put it on here because quite frankly, Mayor Bernstein said, invite me. I'll come. So I said, oh, thanks, great idea.
And I
And-
don't
But, you know,
think
somebody
that's
has
a-
to invite him, and that's
Yeah.
why I bring it up. But
Yeah.
if you don't think we should invite him, then don't.
Yeah, it's, you know, we kind of went in a lot of different, onto a lot of different topics with that discussion. I think if he wants to attend and
Mhm.
speak at a, Human Rights Commission, I don't think there's a problem with that.
But I don't wanna do anything I don't want to, I guess I can privately as a constituent say, come drop in.
Commission,
Or do we wanna
Councilmember
put him on the
Holstage?
agenda for the
Many years ago.
meeting?
This is
I
before our
think she
time.
chimed in recently for a particular item that, Commissioner Rinke, wanted her to speak on regarding
Mm.
homelessness, so.
But she never did that, did she?
But that never happened.
Yeah,
That never
well,
happened.
Well,
Yeah, she was agendized, but.
okay, so she was agendized.
Mhm.
If you'd like to agendize having, I mean, the mayor can come.
Why don't we agendize and
Right,
have
I
her
mean,
say something, it'd be nice,
He could
yeah.
come either as the mayor, you can come as a private citizen and then speak in public comments, but I think that's silly. But if we put him on the agenda and assuming he's still available,
Yeah,
I think he'll come and he'll speak.
Yeah,
For
I think you
15
can have
minutes,
discussion.
but
I
his
would
thoughts.
just say, he would be as the mayor, would not be providing direction or speaking as the council, because that would be the entire council. So it's his perspective.
Sure. I mean, I'm not putting any constraints on what he says, and I'm not asking him to say anything, it's just.
Right.
He expressed a willingness to come to our meeting, I said, great idea, Mayor Bernstein, I'll bring it up at our next executive committee meeting. If my two fellow executive committee members concur, we'll have you on the agenda. So,
Well, it is agendized. Would you like to vote on that?
to put him on the agenda for March 11th. And who communicates with him about that? You,
I don't communicate with him. I communicate with his,
Right.
scheduler,
schedule it.
who would see if he's available.
Yeah, don't
and
forget
go
that
from
we
there.
do things to our staff liaison. So that's the way to do it. But so you're suggesting that we right now take a vote?
take a vote.
Well, you're making decisions as a committee. We probably should have been voting on all these items to put onto the agenda. So,
We can do them all as a lump sum. Can't we? Can we do them all as a lump? All of these items.
You mean we
on the
should have
agenda?
voted on each item for the agenda, whether we wanted to put it on the agenda? Well, we could do it on block.
But let's do it on a block then.
Yeah, let's-
But when, I guess we could get back to that or however you please,
Okay,
executive committee members.
we'll probably put it on a vote on block.
Mhm,
We already talked about the student representative program,
yeah.
right? And we're gonna have a discussion of the strategic vision with the city manager. The question about filling the commissioner vacancy. Just a reminder of the entire commission that we have a vacancy and that if they know someone, they would like to mention this. There's a process in place for people to submit their application. I guess that brings it to director's comments.
Let's just make a motion then. What is actually gonna go on the agenda?
What were we on the agenda?
What do we have?
What do you think is going on? the agenda today? Since you're doing it.
Okay. We have discussing Harvey Milk,
Mhm,
table stipend or other.
mhm,
We have one PS picnic participation with other commissioners.
mhm.
We have community service award review process and vet candidates. We have possibly, to be confirmed with Commissioner Remus, social justice presentation. We have meeting with the city manager,
Mhm.
which we've discussed. Student representative program. Um, understanding the Brown Act.
Mhm.
Strategic vision. The municipal code in regards to the Human Rights Commission. We have how to fill vacancies. Just an update, information I get from the city clerk. And I know we had, and I'm not seeing it here, the executive committee discussion, that would be an action item, correct?
Right,
Mhm.
Okay,
it's really,
Where's
the item
discussion?
is really a revision to our standard operating procedures to
okay,
eliminate the executive committee.
Would not that go under, we could do that under the Brown discussion, or was that, were we gonna fold that into Hugo's? Comments, Brown Act discussion?
I can bring in comments, just to make sure that commissioners
But
It
if
understand.
we're
doesn't
gonna
really
look
have
at
to
the-
be an item, I
The
guess.
exec committee does though.
That could go in my comments. I don't
Brown
think that
Act can
says,
go in the comments.
To remind people to look at the Brown Act.
yes,
Well,
the
we're
document
talking
exists.
about the request for.
and I think I mentioned meeting with the city manager, which
Mhm.
Yes.
that would be it, so.
So the city manager, I'm a little confused, the meeting with the city manager and then the discussion on the strategic vision, I kind of saw those together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that, and the code review, and perhaps that before we also discuss.
That's fine.
Is,
I think it's worth having a conversation down the road with the full commission about the strategic vision of the commission. That's a
Right,
separate
but we-
conversation from
Well,
what you have
we were
with the
gonna
city
start that
manager.
with the
Oh.
code review, yeah, and then.
We
go
can
from there.
report on that meeting to the entire commission.
Yeah,
and inviting the mayor to the upcoming March 11th meeting.
Well, on the agenda wouldn't be
That
an
wouldn't be on the
invitation, it
agenda.
would just
It
be
wouldn't be an invitation.
comments
Sorry,
by the
not in the
mayor,
agenda,
comments
just
by the Mayor Bernstein.
if you could reach out to her, to the scheduler and request that if he's available to join us on Monday, that would be great.
and then we need an agenda item if you talk.
If he says yes,
If he says yes.
Put him on the
Right,
agenda. If
okay.
he says no, don't put him on.
If he says no, then we don't put him there.
I think so. I think that would be the way to do it.
The same way you did with Christy Holstead,
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Holstead.
You
She
put- you
Yeah,
put
was
him
on the
you
agenda,
talk,
she
yeah.
appeared at the top of the agenda. She subsequently declined to come, she had a conflict, but I would do the same thing. If he accepts the invitation
Okay,
to come March 11th.
great. So I think those are good points for the agenda for Monday.
Okay,
And,
So if we have to vote, I will move to accept those items for the agenda of March 11th as presented by our staff liaison.
would you
And I will-
second
I
that?
will second it.
Okay, so now let's put it to a vote. Say hi, raise your hand. And we
Okay.
accepted the block.
great, thank you, appreciate that.
All right.
So let's adjourn.
Let me ask
Do you have
Jeff
anything
if
to
he
say?
has any.
Jeff, do you have any
comments?
comments?
I do not know. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you for your-
Participation.
Yes, very
No.
useful.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So let's
no comments from
adjourn.
me.
All
No
done?
comments from you, no comments from me.
No
Okay.
comments?
Is that enough?
So let's adjourn to our regular meeting on March the 11th at 5:30. And I hope you use the room. Yes,
So I'll send
Oh,
you,
this room for, the next Human Rights
for
Commission.
the next Human Rights Commission.
Okay.
I'll send you a updated SOP with just the sections to be stricken out. If the
Thank you.
commission votes to do so on March 11th.
Okay,
I
so
don't
this
think-
meeting is adjourned.
Who's gonna contact Commissioner Remus to see if he's gonna do this presentation?
You wanna stop
I'll
the
reach out
recording?
to him.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if he's not, you could not put him on